How does the Paris Agreement compare to the Kyoto Protocol? Have you ever wondered how two major international treaties on climate change stack up against each other? Today, we will compare the Paris Agreement and the Kyoto Protocol, focusing on their differences and implications. First, let's look at participation. The Kyoto Protocol, adopted in 1997 and effective from 2005, primarily required only developed countries to reduce their greenhouse gas emissions. Developing countries were not bound by specific targets, which reflected the idea of common but differentiated responsibilities. On the other hand, the Paris Agreement, adopted in 2015, involves commitments from all countries, both developed and developing. This agreement recognizes climate change as a global issue that requires action from every nation. Next, we have emission reduction targets. The Kyoto Protocol set legally binding targets for developed countries to reduce emissions by an average of about 5% below 1990 levels during the commitment period ending in 2012. These targets were specific and mandatory. In contrast, the Paris Agreement does not impose legally binding targets. Instead, it relies on voluntary, nationally determined contributions, where each country sets its own goals based on its capabilities. This flexible approach encourages wider participation. When it comes to greenhouse gases covered, the Kyoto Protocol focused on 6 major gases, including carbon dioxide, methane, and nitrous oxide. The Paris Agreement, however, covers all human-caused greenhouse gas emissions, providing a broader framework for addressing various sources. Compliance and enforcement mechanisms also differ. The Kyoto Protocol had clearer accountability due to its legally binding nature, including compliance committees. However, some countries did not meet their targets, and enforcement was limited. The Paris Agreement emphasizes transparency and regular reporting, requiring countries to report progress every 5 years. Yet, its reliance on voluntary commitments means enforcement largely depends on peer pressure and global accountability. Long-term goals are another area of contrast. The Kyoto Protocol set targets for a specific period without long-term global temperature goals. In contrast, the Paris Agreement aims to limit global warming to well below 2 degrees Celsius above pre-industrial levels, with efforts to limit the increase to 1.5 degrees Celsius. This sets a longer-term vision for climate action. Lastly, let's discuss market mechanisms. The Kyoto Protocol introduced market-based mechanisms like carbon trading, allowing countries to buy and sell emission credits. The Paris Agreement encourages cooperative approaches but with more flexibility and less centralized market mechanisms. From a liberal viewpoint, the Paris Agreement represents a more inclusive and cooperative framework. It acknowledges the interconnectedness of global climate challenges and promotes shared responsibility while respecting national sovereignty. This contrasts with the Kyoto Protocol's rigid mandates focused only on developed countries, which some liberals critique for limiting global participation. The liberal critique of conservative policies that led to withdrawal from the Paris Agreement highlights the importance of global cooperation and ongoing commitment to climate action. The design of the Paris Agreement encourages engagement and transparency, aligning with liberal values of multilateralism and collective responsibility to address climate change.